when I have bumped into the mic, are you guys hearing like big, like?
No.
Oh, good.
No.
Good.
No. In fact, tap the mic, please, for me. I don't think that mic. You're not talking to that mic.
Oh, so
that mic is not what you're.
So you guys are hearing me through.
Probably the mic on the pad.
Mic on the.
But it's a pretty good mic.
It sounds pretty good.
Yeah. It's suboptimal. Let me try reconnecting this thing. I'm gonna
suboptimal solutions.
Yeah.
When the best just won't do. You've tried the best. Now try the rest. Suboptimal. Oh, that was like
your proto company.
Yeah, it was like the subsidiary of Cash Wars Limited PLC. Right. Suboptimal. And then the other was Incoherent Consulting Group.
Hey. Hey.
Not funny.
I want to start with a tweet from Elon Musk. He wrote today, "There is a large graveyard filled with my enemies. I do not wish to add to it, but will if given no choice. Those who pick fights with me do so at their own peril. But maybe this is their lucky day. ... or ellipses, if you like." And then the comment on that is so perfect. The comment is from Bob Seska. "Lighten up, Francis."
What's
That's a deep
Francis?
Quote. You don't. This is from the same movie with Welcome to Italy, gentlemen. Stripes.
Oh,
lighten up, Francis. Yeah, it's a deep quote. A deep quote.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked it because I'm an old guy. It was
What's Elon's problem?
Well, that's Bob Seska responding to Elon's. Yeah, I know, but yes, but also yes. Yeah, lighten up.
What's wrong with these people? Anyway, sorry.
My name's Francis. If you call me Francis, I'll kill you. You don't remember the movie that well. I'm the only one here who remembers the movie.
I'm okay with that fact.
That's okay.
Because
That's all right.
Stripes came out in what, 1986?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe
84?
Could be.
Who's honking the fucking horn?
It's somebody. Look, I live in a city.
Oh, it's your okay.
It's right here. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We have a guest today visiting the pod. My good friend Hewitt Huntwork has joined us, and I don't want to gush too much, but I'm gonna do a little of it. Hewitt and I met at open mics. I don't even know what decade it was anymore, but mostly we were at the Cantab Lounge, which was this kind of smoky bar. It was an open mic run by Geoff Bartley, and it is currently not there anymore. The open mic isn't there anymore. The Cantab is reopened after the pandemic. It looked like it was going to close. But it was a rough bar. You know, there were people at the bar that if you didn't entertain them, they let you know, and they were really drunk. And so it was a really tough place to debut your new material. And I remember Dar Williams and Hewitt Huntwork and I sitting together and getting up and doing our 2 songs. And every single goddamn song that Hewitt played was just amazing. And Hewitt has been living outside of DC for many years, and we've run into each other very seldom. One time when I was playing down in that area, haven't actually talked to each other for a long time, but I just want to sing the praises of your writing and find out what's going on with you and just talk about random stuff. Welcome.
Did we start?
Yeah.
I actually.
It's so great to be here with you guys on NPR. Thank you for having me.
It's your tiny desk concert, Hewitt. Your tiny desk concert.
Did we get the funny part out of the way? Now we can move on to not funny.
Yeah, we can go totally not funny for the rest of the time.
Thank the God.
Pack on, Hewitt.
Thank the God.
Thank you, Jim, for those kind words. I remember those years very fondly. I think I played the Cantab for the first time in 1991, and but my initial impression of you was just sort of middling, and Dar, she was like, Jim has a show coming up at Passim. You should go. And I said, what's Passim? It sounds like the answer to Open Sesame. Open Sesame, Passim. And so I was like, okay, I'm game. I was very, very young. I was 20 years old in 1991. And so I went along, and that was the night where I was like, oh my God, who the hell is this guy? So it wasn't that I didn't, it wasn't that I didn't know you or that we weren't friendly yet at that time. It was that the full force of what it was that you were doing and what you have continued to do all these years landed on me all at once in that night. And I think all performers, if you see them in open mics, you either get to know them 2 songs at a time, or they do a feature set, or you go and see one of their shows and you get a much better sense. But when you get to know someone 2 songs at a time, I didn't know that you were going to be breaking my heart one minute and cracking me up the next, which is your shtick.
Well, also is yours. I was reviewing the music that you sent us, the album, The Only Drowning Goldfish, and then the work that you had done, that you had put up on MySpace, and which of course disappeared. And I felt like there was something wrong with the heat in the room, because it was just getting cold, and then I just realized, no, I have chills. So it's fantastic. And I got to review that album, which I played all the time back when it came out, but that I hadn't listened to in a long time. And it was fantastic. I want to start with a song that I think I missed at the time, and I want to hear all about it. This is a clip from a song called Your Pretty Head.
Was I paying for their wine? Was I wasting all the time that I should have spent with you?
That chilly feeling again. I don't know. Did I ever ask you about this song? This is a fantastic song. I played it multiple times. What? This sounds like a song about Kurt Cobain, but I don't know where it came from, or if it was released prior to his death or after his death. What's going on here, Hewitt? What's happening in this song?
Before he passed, he had that close call, just like Prince had a close call before he passed. And I remember coming home, it was like April 94, and driving home, Nirvana had been on all of the stations, and I was like, oh shit. And I was with the person I was seeing at the time, and we came in the house, and I was like, okay, if we turn on MTV and he's on there, that means he's dead. and we turned on MTV, and sure enough, they were replaying that unplugged concert that Nirvana had done, which they replayed again and again during that whole week.
Right.
And I was devastated, and so yes, Your Pretty Head is about Kurt Cobain, written after he passed, and it's just basically saying, like, you know, he had a very he had sort of a reservation about some of the audience that Nirvana had attracted, and he thought there was some of what like a meathead factor in there, and so I did write that about Kurt Cobain. I didn't want to do anything too overt because that attracts kind of a schmaltzy thing. But you too have a song about him that was very moving to me. Don't Look Down, right?
Don't Look Down. Yeah, I remember writing. I wrote it while I was driving in Pennsylvania, and I heard about it. And that, so that, I mean, it hit all the songwriters really hard. It hit everybody really hard, but probably the songwriters that were writing at the time all have a song about the death of Kurt Cobain.
Right.
I love this one. I love this one because it's not necessarily just about him. There's this really great quality to it, this sense of loss, and also, being friends with someone who's completely out of control or in deep danger of dying, and that comes across really well. Your songs have a highly emotional quality that I like to avoid when I'm writing, because I can't pull it off, and you totally can.
Well, I Wilco had that. Was it a documentary called "I'm Trying to Break Your Heart"? And that's
right.
I'm trying to kick your heart's ass. So that's it's in my mission statement.
Yeah, and you kind of do. And so now, and here's the sad thing, and the thing also that might infuriate people is you can't hear it. It's gone. It was produced by Tom Dubé. Didn't you record that in his studio or in his loft?
No, Tom and I never actually worked together.
Really?
Yeah. You introduced us, which was great of you to do, and maybe will lead us back to some of those early Boston days. But
yeah,
people were constantly doing things for me like that, and the value of those things was just totally lost on 20-year-old me.
Tom was crazy about you. He loved what you were doing. He loved what you were writing and the way you were singing.
That's great. I love that guy. I guess I can't now say who the book was by, but I read a book where he was a character in the book, and his name was changed to Tim, and I'm reading it and I'm going, no way, this is Tom. And I messaged him later and I was like, I just finished this book. You're Tim, right? And he was like, guilty as charged.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
Lionel, for your reference, Tom Dubé is a producer here in Boston, and I can't list the things that he did, but he's really active. He was a big part of the scene, mostly in the rock scene. Bands. I don't know that he did anything with Belly, but he was close with Amy Mann and a bunch of other people here.
Tons of people, and the worst thing on his resume. Do you know this?
No.
Oh God, he was this guy who sang "Walking in Memphis." Marc Cohn. I was walking in Memphis.
Yes.
He got carjacked, shot in the head, I believe. Tom was in the car with him when that occurred.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and so they are survivors of this horrific attack. Terrible, terrible thing. And fortunately, everybody survived. I don't think anybody passed away from that attack, but Marc Cohn got seriously attacked in his car, and Tom was in the car with him Tom does a lot of live sound because he's the guy, and so he was doing live sound for Marc Cohn, I guess. He was on tour with them, and that happened. So not funny for those of you playing.
Yeah, that is not funny.
Yeah. I have a question. I have a question and a statement. Let me start with the statement. Every now and then, Hewitt, whatever you're talking to is clipping. And do you hear it, Jim?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So may just want to back away from who knows what mic is recording you, but if you can put everything just like another like maybe 4 inches, not a lot. It only happens when you get emphatic. And the other question I have is, you have a sticker on your glasses.
Yes. So the sticker says 1.25. They're readers, and it is 1.25 magnification.
Okay.
And
you like having the sticker on there. You leave it on there, so
it's like a Minnie Pearl thing. Remember, Minnie Pearl used to wear
she had the tag from Hee Haw, and she left the price tag on the hat.
Yeah, I leave it on. I bought 5 pairs of these at once. Wow. They're scattered around the house, and the sticker is on most of them. Some of them have been bejeweled by my partner Cassandra. I don't have a bejeweled pair here to show you, but I do have. I have the glasses that I had hoped to wear for my thumbnail.
Oh my God, those are too bad. It's an audio only podcast.
Yeah,
my Lord.
Yeah,
but we can capture that as a thumbnail.
I got it.
Good man. Good man.
I backed off your mic just a little bit, but I'll live with the clipping. Everybody's just going to have to deal with the clipping.
It's just a little bit of
rock and roll.
But that's like Elton John. Are you going to go to a gig with that? You got to go to. I'll pay you. I'll pay you to go to a gig with those glasses on.
That screenshot is going to be the screenshot.
And do the Minnie Pearl thing. Have like a little thing. So you're sort of like Elton John appears on Hee Haw. Oh, that'd be a great one. With like, who's the guy? It was Roy Akins. Who is the guy?
Roy Clark.
Guitarist on Hee Haw. Roy Clark.
Yes.
And I remember growing up and I was like, oh, this is funny. These are like stupid people in the country. Yeah. And then I talked to Bob Loy. He says like Roy Clark is like one of the greatest 6-string players in the history of mankind. He said Hee Haw was simultaneously really demeaning, but really got all these names in front of a lot of people, strangely enough. Like, anyway, I digress. Anyway, so we were talking about somebody getting shot in the carjacking. So that was
and then we landed on
fun.
Then we landed on Hee Haw.
We landed on Hee Haw. I want to land on a song. I want to tell you the songs that I loved.
Okay.
The Thief.
Thank you.
I thought was tremendous.
Thank you.
Love The Thief.
I suppose you've never seen me dressed in black from head to toe. Hear my words now and believe me, lest you hear I told you so. Call the merchants to behold me. I write my name between their sheets. I feed sugar to their ponies. How I love to be the thief.
Leaning on You. Tremendous.
Thank you.
And Just Rock and Roll, a little more like in the fairway, like a little more of sort of a standard tune, but still really fun. I mean, just a great tune. But The Thief, what was the one? What's the one where it's Leaning on You. What's the sky was as black as the villain's mustache? What's the line?
The bad man's mustache.
The bad man's mustache. Yeah.
Fabulous. That's the first line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sky was as black as the bad man's mustache. The sun was shining down tears. It just wouldn't set till the last child was wet. It shone for 11 years. The world and his knife were leaning on me and trying to cut me in two. Yeah, the world and his knife were leaning on me, and me, I was leaning on you.
It's great. I mean,
Thank you so much.
Like in the first, like it's not even in the first sentence. You're like there. I just thought that was really great. I thought so. Those are my favorite tunes.
Thank you. You know, in our open mic days, Jim and I used to encounter this awesome human being and storyteller named Ray Linda Wode. And once after a show, Ray Linda came up to me and she said, "One of the things I love about your songs is that the first line just takes you there right away." And I made a mental note and I said to myself, I'll have to keep that up.
Right, but also like leaning on you, and also it's also not entirely clear what's going on, at least to me. And I like that. I like that in lyrics. I like lyrics that don't really fill in all the lines for you. Lyrics where it's at least I found, maybe to everybody else, like you said that thing about this song's about Kurt Cobain, Your Pretty Head. I didn't get that at all. So maybe I'm just thick. But I just like I like this because it seems, when you say that something is black as the bad man's mustache, it's like, wow, there's a lot of directions we can go here. It's like, are we talking about facial hair, or are we talking about some kind of like Stephen King, the gunslinger thing going off in this direction? I mean, is it a Western? Is it? And so that's kind of cool because there's all these overtones flying through the air. And you just have to roll with it. It's not. I didn't feel like I was being sent down a chute lyrically. I was feeling like I was being just presented with more of a Rorschach, and I could sort of piece it together the way I want to.
Thank you. I think anyway, that's a great way to describe it. There's I try to leave space for the listener in the songs and writing poetic lyrics. The next line of that song after "The sky was as black as the bad man's mustache" is "the sun was shining down tears." And writing poetic lyrics has always been important to me. I have advice for writers, which is words are free, use the best one. and for songwriters, notes and chords are free, use the best ones. So I think one of the things that probably drew Jim and I to each other as friends was a kind of a shared ambition, not just a commercial ambition, but an artistic ambition to say, we want to make people feel something. And Jim and I have reminisced about this a little bit, but when I started going to coffee houses and open mics, I thought I was going to be surrounded by fledgling visionaries who were trying to communicate the way they wanted art in the world to be. And, I didn't realize that there would be people at these things who, may have promised themselves since they were in college, one of these days I'm going to play an open mic, and tonight is the night, and you would see these people who were fulfilling not just a lifelong dream, but a challenge to themselves to get up in front of people. My upbringing, my dad had me in plays in church, and I sang in choirs, and he never said these words, but he may as well have, and that is, when it's time for somebody to stand up and say a few words, when it's time to be in a play, when it's time to sing a song, whatever it is, if not us, then who? He had this real so even though, even though my parents always sang in choirs and my mother was a choir director, there was just this sense that, you were gonna participate, you were gonna get up in front of people, you were gonna say things. When I was 5, apparently, as the story goes, my dad took us all to a Toastmasters banquet. And when they asked if anybody wanted to get up and say something, at age 5, I did. I got up and made an extemporaneous, if I'm using the word correctly, speech about dolphins. I don't remember liking dolphins, being remotely interested in dolphins, but apparently in that moment, I was a foremost expert. I got up and talked, and everybody was like, "Oh, how precocious!"
Yeah.
And what town did you grow up in? I don't know why I don't know this, but I don't know this.
So, I lived in a suburb of Minneapolis and St. Paul called New Brighton, and New Brighton, one of its big claims to fame is that in the movie In the Line of Fire, where Malkovich is the Secret Service agent protecting Kennedy, and the guy who killed Kennedy, no, not the guy who killed Kennedy, a guy who is like obsessed with that whole thing, is taunting him about how he's going to kill the president on Malkovich's. Malkovich is the killer on Clint Eastwood's watch. Yeah,
it's Clint Eastwood.
Yeah,
okay, okay.
And Malkovich is the
Malkovich would make a very poor Secret Service agent. Yeah.
So he, a bank teller is making chit chat with him, and he tells her he's from New Brighton. And she's like, "Oh, did you go to high school there?" And he's like, "Yeah, New Brighton High School or whatever." And she's like, "But that wasn't the name of it," which it wasn't. It's called Irondale High, which is where I would have gone had my family not moved. And he has to show up at this bank teller's house and kill her because she knew he was lying about where he went to high school. So that's New Brighton's.
Okay, so that wow.
Yeah, and then I think the guys from the late 80s band Information Society, who had the song, "I Want to Know What You're Thinking, Tell Me What's on Your Mind." It's funny. It's a You Guys song because it has a vocal drop from Mr. Spock saying "pure energy."
Okay, wait, I do know it. Yeah.
He knows it from Star Trek.
I do know it from the drop. That's everything else I forgot about. I'm also trying to work up my John Malkovich as a Secret Service agent impersonation. I'm not sure that I can really.
Nice,
Mr. President. We're going to need to move you.
Did you see Burn After Reading?
Yeah, I think I did.
Same.
Yeah,
there's two clips from that are on YouTube. Like in the center of that movie, there's a clip where like the CIA supervisor has to explain to the boss what's going on, and none of it makes any sense. And it's that guy who is in Counterpart, the guy who's in like the Farmers commercials. Anyway, I'm sorry. Let's get back on track here. New Brighton.
What?
Okay,
where did we go?
So
so you're in Minneapolis. Did you meet Prince?
No.
Did you ever see him?
No, I left Minneapolis. Our first night in our house in Massachusetts was the last night of 1982. So I was 11 years old and wouldn't have got
really early.
To interact with Prince.
Yeah,
it would have been weird.
So we moved to Acton, Massachusetts, and Acton, Massachusetts. Its third most famous son is who's it? Folk singer who passed, Bill Morrissey. Went to my high school.
We've been talking about him
years before I was there. Their second most famous son is Steve Carell, star of The Office and everything, and a great show that you guys should watch if you haven't. I think it's called The Patient.
I haven't seen it.
It's totally amazing.
It's good for the references.
And then
number one,
Acton's most famous son, a man named Carol Spinney. Do you guys know who Carol Spinney is?
No.
He is the person inside Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch.
Wow. Yeah.
A puppeteer.
A Muppeteer. Wow. Never got to meet any of those famous Actonian sons, but and then
Bill wasn't that hard to meet.
My closest friend from high school is a comedian of some note. His name is Christian Finnegan, and he is most notable for being on the Chappelle Show. There's a sketch where they flip the real world, where it's the idea is the real world always has one African American living with all the Caucasians, and it drives them insane. And so they flipped it for the Chappelle Show and had one white guy living in a house of all African Americans, and he played the white guy, and
he's the white guy.
Yeah, everywhere he goes, he is known for being the white guy. But he has several
white guy
stand-up specials, a couple of which feature songs of mine, including his most recent one, which is called "Show Your Work." And I forget where
checking that out.
I forget where I watched it recently, but the song from my CD. Everything is as it should be. He used as the music for that special. Nice. So you can, let me see if I have this cool app that you type in what you want to watch and it tells you where it's streaming.
This will help Ellen, poor Ellen, who does our references that go by very rapidly.
So it's streaming on Prime Video. Christian Finnegan Show.
Really? What's this called?
His name is Christian Finnegan, and his special is called "Show Your Work." And he filmed it. His wife has a comedy club in Queens called QED, and it's just it's a little room where they do all kinds of stuff, not just comedy things. And they're fortunate enough that they had a backyard. So coming out of the pandemic, they filmed this stand-up special for like 15 people tops in the backyard of this comedy club. And I think it's directed by an actor named Victor Varnado, who he's an actor, but now he's a director. And I think he was like the bad guy in the Eddie Murphy movie Pluto Nash. And so he directed this comedy special. And it's basically all about like, trying to keep the club open during the pandemic and interesting stuff. And of course it's a stand-up performance. So it's, it's good stuff.
I'm sorry. I'm cracking. I've got to get something off my chest.
Oh yeah.
Go. I'm just going to keep laughing. Did you read this? Did you read the story in the New York Times where some humane we're probably going to have to X this out. Some humane society in Arizona transferred like 300 guinea pigs and gerbils to another humane society, like the humane. I'm not even going to name names because I'll probably get sued. And they took them and they sold them to a reptile shop.
Oh, no.
That's one way to
very humane to the reptiles.
And it's like, and when you read the story, it's like everybody's pointing fingers at everybody else, and the first person, I'm totally against and stuff like that. And it's like, it reminds me of the. I'm sorry, you can cut this out. I just have to tell otherwise I'm just going to keep chortling while you would sing deep things. It's going to be really off. It's going to be really off-putting. But it reminds me of the Dark Side cartoon, and it's a cartoon. It's a living room, and the man and wife have gotten home from a dinner out on the town, and they're yelling at a witch, and the witch looks really, really embarrassed. And the husband says, "Okay, let me get this right. We hired you to look after your children, after our children, but instead you cooked and ate them both, with both underlined." And so whenever I think, I'm sorry, I'm probably blowing the mic too. I apologize. Okay.
Well, but your story does remind me of a clip off of Unreleased, which I'd like to play now. I don't think I have all the relevant clips. This one is called
Jim's desperately trying to get this car back on the road.
The plane is upside down right now, and I'm just trying to line it up with the horizon, the virtual horizon, which is much better than the actual horizon. This one's called No Mistake.
Have we been fools? Have we been fools? Imagine the greatest thing that you will ever do. Imagine that it is real. Imagine that it is true. Then look at yourself and say, it's no mistake. 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 It's no mistake.
Probably doesn't really apply to the gerbils and the guinea pigs, but
It was. Who
I would
knows if it was
play
a
it
mistake
anyway.
or not?
Now you can't really axe the gerbil story because
No,
you
it's
sandwiched it.
Stan. It's all Stan.
You sandwiched it on either side of the music clip.
It's got to stay in. How is this? This is after, of course, you had moved away, and I sort of lost touch of a lot of your music. I remember that you had been releasing things. There was like a long compilation of songs that you had put together. How were you recording this? Where were you? Was it in a studio or was it home?
It was at home. I made my first album, The Only Drowning Goldfish, at the recording studio at Skidmore College. I had a buddy who was a student there, and all summer long we just signed up on this sheet with other students who were making stuff, and we had use of the studio, and then my second CD in 1998 I made in my bedroom, and all this stuff that I did, no mistake, I would have recorded all the parts at home, and then I have a business partner that I make music with. He's actually a Grammy winner for working with Celine Dion when she got Album of the Year. Like every song on the album had a different producer,
yeah, right.
So they all won Grammys for it, and he's among them. His name's Steve Rinkoff, and so Steve would come to town. He lives up in New York, and he would come down to Columbia, Maryland, and he would stay in a hotel, and he had a little portable rig, and I would just bring rough mixes of tracks, and then he would take a blanket for, how they have that extra blanket in the closet from the hotel, and he would put it over the mirror in the in his hotel room because it was a large reflective surface, and so he was dampening the sound, and we would record vocals right there in the hotel in Columbia.
Wow.
And so we probably did about 26 songs that way, and I I sent you maybe 7 or 8 or 9, somewhere in there, of those things. I listened through to a bunch of stuff. I'm incredibly dissatisfied with all of it, as you guys are like heaping praise on it. And I have some pretty quixotic, thoughts and feelings. Christian Finnegan used to ask me every time we got together. He'd be like, "How's it going? What's going on with the music? What are you working on?" And I said a couple of things to him that I think just stopped him in his tracks. He stopped asking me after that. One of which was, I want my music to sound mysterious even to me, and that's kind of a tall order, And so I
totally agree. I understand exactly.
Yeah.
This is the end of part 1 of our interview with Hewitt Huntwork. Please check in next week for part 2. Funny Not Funny is produced by Jim Infantino at Slab Media in Boston. Lionel Casson is the co-host. Our website is funnynotfunny.bigego.com. The background music you're listening to is the song Hum from Utopia Revisited by Jim Infantino. The opinions presented by the co-hosts are ridiculous and should not be taken seriously by anyone. Our intended audience is literally nobody. If you're listening to this podcast, you should stop immediately and seek help. Please do not subscribe or leave a rating or review. It only encourages us to make more. Thanks for listening.